Good morning and welcome to the Turtle Wins the Race Home-Based Business Podcast. I'm looking for my latte. My name is Kara Buntin and this is my latte. I have had a home-based business since 1999 and that's what we talk about here. And that was a drink of my latte. This morning I want to talk about telling people what to do. And this is something that we probably don't do as much as we should in whatever capacity. And there's a lot of ways to do this. And this is basically what people refer to as a call to action or a nudge, or giving them a link. It can come down to just giving people a link. And unless you tell people what to do, they're not going to do it, or they're not going to know where to go. And people are not going to go search around and look for your stuff. They're not going to do that. I will admit, I'm very bad at calls to action. I'm very bad at remembering to put links. I'm very bad at just assuming that people will go and look for something. So I need to take my own advice on this one. And I think it's probably a good thing to take my own advice, but I don't always do that. And do any of us ever take our own advice? No, but you should take my advice on this one. I will try also to be better at it. The reason this came up to my mind is I was thinking this situation happened in my home, but I used to work at a department store and I was a department manager, and we would have these sales days where every department on the floor was getting ready for a sale. And everybody was just working their butts off. And one of us would go and do a soda run, right? So they would, anybody want a soda? Does anybody want anything? I'm going to go do a soda run. It was a way to get out of work for 10 minutes, right? So I'll do a soda run, meaning I'm going to go take a break and I'm going to mess around for a while. But you had to go and do something and bring the sodas back because people were waiting for their sodas at that point. So it was kind of, anyway. So I'm going to go do a soda run. So I told my coworkers and the other managers, I'm going to do a soda run. Does anybody want a soda? One of the other women that worked there said, I'll have a soda. Just get me anything. Now, no, anytime anybody says, get me anything, no, because you're not going to make them happy. They're going to complain. So I said, what do you want? I will get you a soda, but you need to tell me what you want. She's like, oh, anything is fine. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, if you don't tell me what you want, I'm going to bring you a Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda. And she says, Diet Pepsi. Okay, that was easy, right? She told me to bring her a Diet Pepsi and I did. Okay. But when you leave it up to someone, you don't know what's going to happen. So you need to tell people what you want them to do. And like I said, this came up in my home the other day because I was going to the grocery store and I said to my husband, do you want anything at the grocery store? And he said, oh, could you get me some coleslaw? And they have it in 2 containers and one is sweet and one is shredded. And I don't eat coleslaw, so I don't know the difference. So I said, okay, well, which one do you want? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, no. And I said, you better tell me what you want or I'm going to bring you Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda. And he said, bring me the shredded. Okay, that's an easy question. What do you want? Okay, but when people are coming to your website or they're coming to your social media or they're coming to your YouTube channel and they don't know where to go after that and you don't tell them where to go, then they don't know and you're going to get nothing. You're going to get Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda. Okay, and I don't know if anybody is in a country that doesn't have Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda. Number one, you're blessed. Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda is literally a soda that tastes like chocolate, I think. I don't know. It looks disgusting. I don't think I've ever had it, but why would you want that? Anyway, somebody likes it because they keep selling it. They've sold it for years. I don't know how many they sell every year, but it's pretty disgusting. I don't know. I've never seen anyone drink it, but it's always on the shelves. But whenever you say to anybody, I'm going to bring you a Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda, they have an alternative. All right. So basically, what you want to remember is that when you're on social media, when you're on Etsy, and I will talk about Etsy a little bit with this because Etsy is weird. When you're on your website, when you're sending a newsletter out, let's say I send out a newsletter and I don't give people a written invitation, right? So I'm sending the newsletter out and I'm like, hey, you can shop on my website and I have these new products, and then I don't leave a link. Are people going to go look for the link? No, they're not, because they're lazy and why you have to give them a written invitation. Just think of my mother's voice in your head. You need to give them a written invitation, which is basically leaving a link. It's not that hard. I literally the other day sent a newsletter out without linking to the product. And I was like, oh my God. So that was my mistake. I do this all the time. I am very bad at the calls to action, but it really is important. And I said I would mention Etsy with this because Etsy, as we know in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, has really started loading up all the listings with little nudges. And these nudges are also calls to action. It's telling people what you want them to do. It's things like bestseller, Etsy's pick, only one left, sale ends in 10 minutes. It's all these little reminders that are designed to get customers to buy something now or to click on something now. And sometimes it can be just as simple as saying, click this, like click this link. We've all seen that. And you do, right? So you're like, oh, here's the link. I'll click this link. It could be something on a pin. Like when I do Pinterest pins, a lot of times I forget to put a call to action. You don't have to put them on every pin, but it's not a bad idea to put a little thing. And Pinterest says to do this. Put something on the pin itself that says, save this pin for later. That's all. I think on some of my websites, I have like a Pinterest pin in the article. And at the top, it says, save this to Pinterest with a little link to do that. That's giving people a written invitation, right? You have to tell people what to do or you're going to get Yoo-hoo chocolate soda. Just remember that, and that'll remind you. I need to tell myself that. I don't want Yoo-hoo chocolate soda, so I'm going to give people the link to go to the right place, right? And if you don't tell them what to do, they're going to do something else. They're either going to not go to your website or they're going to go to Etsy and just start searching and they're going to find somebody else's stuff and buy that instead. Okay. So there is a point at which, however, you can be too pushy. And I think that's why people don't use the calls to action and telling people what to do is because you feel like it's salesy, it feels pushy, it feels obnoxious. But it doesn't have to be, and you don't have to load it up. Etsy loads it up so much, it's ridiculous. And there comes a point where people just don't even see it anymore because it's everywhere. If you see the word bestseller on everything, then nothing is a bestseller. It just becomes part of the scenery, and you don't pay attention to it anymore. If you see a newsletter that's just full of links, every third word is a link, that's ridiculous, and people are just going to stop. But if you just put a well-positioned link, write a little article about your new product. Here's the pictures. Here's what it is. This is why you should buy it. And here's the link to go to it. That's fine. You don't have to put 12 links in that paragraph. Just put one link. They'll go. That's fine. And everybody's done. If you're trying to get people to sign up for your email newsletter, the same thing. You don't want to, I would put the newsletter link as many places as you could. But you don't have to put it 12 times in the same place. Just put it in different places, but you don't have to do everywhere. But you do have to tell people what to do. And those are nudges. It's calls to action. It's nudges. It's the same kind of thing. Now, a nudge, technically, and there is a book called Nudge, which is very good. The link is in the description. The link's in the description of this video. Go click the link and buy the book if you don't have it. See, I just told you what to do. That's your written invitation. But it's a really good book because it explains how these things are kind of built into our lives. And technically, a nudge is something that gets someone to do an action that it's not going to harm them if they don't do it, and they're not going to lose something if they don't do it. Okay. So it's not like a financial thing. It's not like if you don't click here, you're going to lose $50. And it's not that. Like there's no penalty if people don't take advantage, don't pay attention to the nudge. But it keeps people moving in the direction that you want. And a good example of the nudge is when you go to a parking lot and there are lines painted on the ground. Those are nudges because there's no law against parking diagonally across the parking lot anywhere you want. It's obnoxious, but there's no law against it. But the lines on the parking lot are nudges that show you where to park, and people do that all the time. You've given them a written invitation. It's a painted invitation, but they have parked where you want them to, and it doesn't cost them anything. It doesn't, like I said, there's no penalty if you park diagonally. Somebody might key your car. That's a penalty, but it's not illegal. It's not harmful to anyone else, really. It really isn't. It's obnoxious, but it's not harmful. And it doesn't cost you anything. So technically nudges are there just to kind of make people make the decision. But if they don't make the decision, they're not going to lose anything. Calls to action are kind of the same way, except it's a little more explicit. Click this link to buy. Like click here to see more. Shop here. Shop now. That kind of stuff. But you need to tell people what to do. So that's really all I have to say about this. Just remember that you need to use calls to action, or you're going to get Yoo-hoo chocolate soda and nobody wants that. So tell people what you want them to do. I know this was a short episode, but it's a short topic. And just remember to do it. Oh my God, I forget to do it all the time. So I'm guilty, but it will get you more results and better results if you tell people what you want them to do. And that's it. Okay, so leave me any questions, leave comments. If you have other topics you want me to talk about, go right ahead. So that's it. This is a short one today, but I'll see you next week. Bye.